don't get hit. I'm the fastest thing on 2 feet, man. I make this prediction. This will be the biggest upset in all fighting history, and this will be the easiest fight of my life.
I think it's befitting that I go out of boxing just like I came in, shocking the world.
Saturday, June 3rd, marks the 1-year anniversary of the passing of Muhammad Ali. Today, we'll take a look back at the life of Ali as a boxer, as a man, and as a cultural icon. But first, the sport that gave him his platform, of course, the sweet science. Let's start with a look at one of Ali's most famous fights, his rematch with Sonny Liston in Lewiston, Maine in 1965.
We note that early, halfway through this first round, that Sonny is shooting mostly, although he's going to the head now, mostly toward that body. You know the old story, you kill the body and the head might follow. Knockdown, ladies and gentlemen, a right-hand shot. A right-hand shot on the chin. Jersey Joe Walcott. Sonny cannot move. Check the time.
You want the truth? Talk to me. You don't want the truth? Get out of here. Don't talk to me. Don't call me. All right? And I won't bother you. You won't bother me. But he destroyed a lot of young fighters' careers. He helped a lot of fighters in different ways, but he also hurt a lot of fighters because they tried to emulate him. They tried to copy, and there was only one. When there's a genius that does it special, when there's a Jimi Hendrix who plays his guitar backwards, there's only one. And same thing when you try to copy Muhammad Ali. You pull back, you break all the rules, and you don't have that timing. You don't have that confidence. You don't have those reflexes. You don't have that specialness, and you get knocked out. Don't pull back, he pulled back. Don't drop your hands, he dropped his hands. You kill the body, the head will follow. He never punched the body. He went against everything that was supposedly the norm, the conventional way to do things. And his greatness was that he broke all these rules, did all these things wrong, and had the speed, the timing, the reflexes, the great confidence to make it right. That's pretty special. He used his legs real quick, and at the same time was able to punch off moving backwards, punch off moving to the sides. He used his legs for defense and to create offense, different angles, different positions, to frustrate his opponents. Nobody in the heavyweight division, and including now, ever used their legs to the level and with the grace and with the effectiveness that Ali did. Yeah, you're asking me about the rope-a-dope, how he used it against George Foreman so effectively. I'm going to say this, but I'm not saying it in a mean-spirited way. I'm really not meaning it to be derogatory. Just to get to a point, is that he knew that he could make George a dope. And he couldn't make George a dope 10 years later. George grew up a lot. He learned a lot from that night in Zaire. But at that point, he knew that he could break George down. So it wasn't about the rope-a-dope, it wasn't about any scientific thing, any sweet science element that suddenly he invented in the ring. I mean, you know, he didn't have those legs anymore at that point in his life. So he understood on the fly, he understood that he had to cover up, not get caught clean by this terrific puncher, tremendous puncher, and that by covering up, that he would break him down. 75% of this business is mental, and Ali understood that better than most.
I don't care how small the ring is, I'll fight that chump in a telephone booth.
If you believe like Ali and you had that kind of faith like Ali, and the kind of internal toughness, not toughness where you just, you know, you're just going in there and you're swinging away, but internal toughness, where no matter what it takes, you believe that you will get there, that you will not give in, you will not submit. A lot of fighters prospered from that, just from that example. And seeing Ali in those days, it was kind of like coming out of a Rocky movie where for 5 minutes you think you could be the champ, you know, the music's playing in your ears. Well, when you saw Ali and you heard Ali, the music was always playing in your ears, that you could be the best.
It was 4 a.m. in Zaire, and 60,000 fans lined the ring to see if former heavyweight champ Muhammad Ali could take the belt from reigning champion George Foreman. A man so powerful, boxer Archie Moore said, "I was praying that George wouldn't kill Ali." But Ali had a plan. And after one round, he began his rope-a-dope strategy, leaning on the ropes and covering up, deflecting Foreman's furious attack and tiring the champ with each ensuing round. Ali goaded Foreman, taunting him to throw more punches. The tactic surprised everyone and proved insoluble to Foreman. In the 8th round, the strategy achieved its goal. An exhausted Foreman fell prey to a 5-punch barrage from Ali.
Oh, he's got him with the right hand. He's got him. Oh, you can't believe it.
Foreman had fallen. 7 years after being stripped of his title for refusing to be inducted into the Army, Ali was the champion once again.
Well, going 15 rounds with Ali was great. You know, just the fact that you were in the ring with the greatest of all time, and it was tough, but I trained the one and only time for that fight. I went away to camp. I got myself in great shape, and it was a thrill of my life. I'm honored to say that I went 15 rounds with the great Muhammad Ali. He was an inspiration. He was great. I loved the guy. He was so good to me and so kind to me, and we did a lot of kidding around, of course, because he was the greatest promoter of all time. He promoted his own fights, and it was such a great night that night. And even though I didn't win the fight, I proved I belonged in there. Well, you know, the fight with Ali inspired the movie Rocky, and it had a great impact on my life. I was a club fighter, just came into the top 10, and a lot of people didn't know who I was, and now, 42 years later, they're making a movie about me called Chuck, and it's all because of Muhammad Ali.
Now, I'm not saying this just to be funny, but I'm fighting Ernie because he needs the money. This will be a total annihilation.
Some people say, you better watch Joe Frazier, he's awful strong. I said, tell him to try band roll-on.
Everyone knew an Ali fight was coming, and it just ignited people's imaginations.
He's young, he's handsome. They know it. The world's champ should be pretty like me.
The sport had never seen anyone who could sell a fight like this before.
Just here's the fight. I'm ready to back up everything I'm saying.
Boxing became a huge box office, and these closed circuit fights were drawing millions of people and millions of dollars.
And this might shock and amaze you, but I will destroy Joe Frazier.
There's a lot of ways he changed the sport besides his movement in the ring, which was unheard of for a man that large to be that quick.
I'm too fast. Champion from the crib. I'm the king. Born the champ. Born the champ from the crib. Ah!
A lot of people tend to think of you as being bombastic, the showman of boxing. How much of this is an act and how much of it really is you?
Well, all the talk, like for an example, the last time I fought Henry Cooper, I was saying that he must fall in round 5, and that's no jive. Little rhymes, I am the greatest, I am the king. The things that I was doing, they were only campaigning to the title. I saw in 1960 when I turned professional that I had a hard way to go to beat all the top contenders, so I had to overshadow them. Predicting and been blessed and successful enough to fulfill my predictions, and calling the rounds and writing poems and weigh-in disturbances and challenging my opponent on the street, and this was controversial and it was colorful, and I overshadowed all the contenders, and the promoters are the ones who promote the fights and who put up the money. Well, I was a bigger draw than Eddie Machen at the time, than many top contenders. So this threw me right into the championship fight. And I won, but that was only campaigning. Like a mayor, a man running for some office, he walks the streets, he picks up babies, he shakes their hands, he campaigns. Then when the man is in office, it's hard seeing him. You need a necktie, or a suit, or an appointment.
And he settles down to the job then.
Right, so I'm in office now, I'm the heavyweight champion of the world, and I don't have to talk no more and say I'm the greatest because people tell me I'm the greatest.
It's hard to imagine another figure, sports or otherwise, being recalled so fondly or thoroughly. Words like courageous and principled and towering were in heavy rotation. As we take the full measure of the man, though, here's something else to consider. Ali was knowable. Note how many of these recollections are personal. Meals with Ali, conversations with Ali, visits to his home, mentions of his wife Lonnie, and this continued even in his compromised state. In this drumbeat of eulogies and remembrances, there was nostalgia for Ali, but also nostalgia for a time when athletes let us in. These doubled as elegies for candor. This is not a complaint about modern celebrity or the membrane of publicists and agents and handlers that surround the contemporary star. Ali didn't have to contend with social media, with gotcha political correctness, with the 24/7 news cycle. But this week should be instructive. Having the confidence to put yourself out there, that plays as big a role in building a legacy as being a champion. Saying an athlete like Ali was so witty, so colorful, so mesmerizing, so important, that's one thing. Knowing it, having the personal experience to reach those conclusions, that's something much deeper.
I first met Muhammad Ali at the Ali Summit, but I had seen him prior to that on Hollywood Boulevard. He was out there doing magic tricks just for people passing by. I stood over about 10 yards away, but I was watching. I said, wait, that's Muhammad Ali. And I was with a couple of friends of mine. And we watched him for a little bit and then kept on going. And then sometime later, just a couple of weeks later, I met him at a party in Los Angeles and started talking with him. He was a great guy and a wonderful human being, and he understood what he was talking about politically. When he said that Black Americans did not have any quarrel with the Viet Cong, he was talking about political reality, and he woke a lot of Black Americans up. So we have to thank him. He stood up for the right issue at the right time.
You were a bouncer and a bodyguard
Yes.
at one point for Muhammad Ali.
Yes.
What was it like to work for him?
That was my greatest experience because he was my hero. He came to my high school when I was the wrestling champion. In our life intertwined 3 times. That was the first time when I was in high school. The second time, I bodyguarded him for a couple years. And the third time, when I did the movie Rocky III. In the movie Rocky's house, it was actually Muhammad Ali's house.
Is that
in
right?
real life?
That's fantastic.
Yep.
What do you remember about Muhammad Ali, the man?
Well, the man, he taught me a lot. One of his friends, like you said, is the squeaking wheel that gets the grease. So he said, you got to be different but good. Mm-hmm. That's one of the main reason how he got to fight Liston. Mm-hmm. So he had to break out as they say, out the box and just, hey, I'm coming at you for this and that and whatever, I want to fight with you. And basically, that's sort of like my character in Rocky III was. I wanted Balboa. Rocky didn't want to fight me, and then Liston at first didn't want to fight Ali.
Yeah.
So Ali had to force the issue, So he said, you got to be aggressive, got to be assertive, and so I took those things to heart.
I had just won the Olympic gold medal, and I was training and living at the Doric Hotel in Hayward, California. And there was a couple of girls, one in particular I wanted to court, and she was a nice-looking girl. I had invited her over with her friend and my friend. And we were sitting there, and I was all dressed up. I looked so nice, and my fro was just right. And I'm just telling her, finally, the subject of boxing had come up. I tell my children this story. It came up, and I said, yep, by the way, I'm a boxer. She said, what? I saw this Muhammad Ali standing on the street corner, and he's just saying, look at me, I'm pretty, I'm beautiful. And I said, really? She said, oh, and he was beautiful. I never saw that girl again. Never wanted to invite her to eat ever again. Because there I am thinking I'm the toast of the town, getting ready to be the champ of the world. My future's ahead of me. And so it wasn't long, I'm walking down, I'm fighting in Madison Square Garden, standing at the Lowe's Midtown Motor Inn, New York City. And one night after dinner, I was walking and coming home from a late stroll alone. And I see this crowd behind me just going crazy. And they got closer and closer. Finally, I decided I'm going to see what are they doing. Now, and you know, and this girl that told me, she said, he was beautiful. All he had on is a T-shirt and a pair of jeans. I said, and I'm dressed up, and so all of a sudden the crowd got closer, and I looked up, and it was him. It was Muhammad Ali. And all he had on was a little sports shirt, a pair of slacks, and he was beautiful. I remember thinking, that girl wasn't not trying to put me down. She wasn't trying to belittle me. She had, the only way she could describe him was, he was beautiful. And I'm telling you, it's going to be beautiful for 100 years now, because everyone that would receive that reward would get that image and the photograph next to that picture, and it'll be beautiful for them.
Sports Illustrated has had such a long relationship with Ali that we named an award after him. The Muhammad Ali Legacy Award was created in 2015 and so far has been given to Jim Brown, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Russell, and Jack Nicklaus. Presenting the award in 2015 was a man who got to know Ali so well, he played him in the movie Ali. It's actor Will Smith.
Now, some of you might know I have a very unique connection with the champ. We all know the stats and we know the records inside the ring, but there's no doubt that he was a great boxer. He was the greatest of all time. But when we think about the legacy of Muhammad Ali, what he did in the ring is not what we think about. For nearly 2 years, I worked to transform myself into the man who changed his name from Cassius Clay to Muhammad Ali and shook up the world. So I got to wear Muhammad Ali's greatness. I got to study and feel and embody the soul of the man, from the foundations of Islam and the strength of his Muslim faith in his life to the beautiful wake that he always leaves in his magnificent path. And what I learned about the word legacy is that it extends far beyond our professional accomplishments. It extends far beyond accolades. Muhammad Ali is a champion for civil rights. He's a champion in the fight against injustice. He's a champion for utilizing whatever tools he has to make the world a better place.
Muhammad was a leader, yes, but he wasn't always alone at the front. Always, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Jim Brown, and Bill Russell were right there with him. Yes, 3 great men. The friendship among the 4 men is deep, going back almost to when I first met Muhammad in 1963 at the age of 2. But the moment that bound them together in the public eye came in 1967, the so-called Ali Summit. Jim asked a dozen of the most famous African-American athletes in the country to come to Cleveland to meet with Muhammad. They wanted to gauge the sincerity of his anti-Vietnam War stance and his refusal to enter the draft, and to discuss ways they could support him. There's a famous photo from that day, Jim, Bill, and Kareem, front and center, sitting calmly for a press conference, and standing loudly beside their brother. It's hard to imagine now just how dramatic that moment was, or how much courage it took for these men to join Muhammad in his fight. These were athletes, yes, but there was a different kind of teamwork here, something the country had never seen before from African-American athletes, a statement that they had a voice beyond the games that they played, a turning point, not just for Muhammad's career, but in the fight for equality and civil rights in this country. I don't know how great the cost of this stance was to Jim and Bill and to Kareem, but I do know that they never stopped taking stances like this, never stopped fighting against injustice, never stopped trying to improve the world and spread a message of peace and equality. And I know that Muhammad never forgot what they did for him that day.
But I want everybody from this moment on to recognize me as the scholar of boxing. If you want to know any damn thing about boxing, don't go to no boxing experts in Las Vegas. Don't go to no Jimmy the Greek. Come to Muhammad Ali. I am the man.
Just like he said, he's the greatest. You know, he was somebody that was just way more than just a sport. You know, his voice carried over. You know, he just sent shockwaves everywhere, just, you know, for the culture. And he was a guy that really stood for something, and he made it pronounced on what he stood for. You know, he was like, even outside the ring and inside the ring, you know, he was a superhero.
I'm gonna knock you out the 7th round and get in there and literally knock you out the 7th round. He's just an amazing man in my books.
Him basically teaching, you know, guys like me who read up on him about, you know, always, you know, stick to your beliefs, always go by your beliefs and your morals and your principles, you know, regardless of the consequences. You know, basically, that's why I think he's the greatest of all time, not what he did inside the ring, but what he did outside the ring, how outspoken he was about the issues and the social issues that was going on in America.
I've met so many boxers in my life, but there's never been a boxer who's impacted my life as much as Muhammad Ali did. And for me not to get a chance to meet him and him pass on, it was devastating for me. He's done so much for the sport, he's done so much for the culture, and I will be forever grateful to Muhammad Ali.
Legacy. The word can be overused in sports, but there's a richness to the legacy created by a true icon, by someone whose name forever stands for excellence, for principle, for grace, for charity and service, and by someone who uses his talent for something beyond athletic achievement. His fame for something beyond self-enrichment. Far beyond his considerable greatness in the ring, the textured combination of courage, character, and charisma is the legacy of Muhammad Ali.
Ali is heavyweight champion of the world.
I'm dancing. Follow me, son. No, I'm not there. I'm here. What?
Somewhere there's a very short list of the greatest and most influential and most beloved athletes of all time. And I don't think there's much doubt that Muhammad Ali is on the top of that list. If you take it just as an athlete, then he's on the short list. If you incorporate having a social conscience, touching people around the world in ways that went beyond what he did in the ring,
Follow me, I got the whole world.
then really there's nobody close.
He certainly elevated this sport and the franchise of heavyweight champion to a point where it hadn't been for a long time and would never be again.
His greatest victories came not in the ring, but on the public stage.
Muhammad Ali is a whole lot more than an athlete. I mean, he's one of the great ambassadors this country's ever had, I think.
Champion of his beliefs.
Former world heavyweight champion Cassius Clay refused to take the oath of induction into the Army. Muhammad Ali was immediately stripped of his title by the World Boxing Association.
Champion of human rights and humanitarian causes around the globe.
He didn't care who you were a human being. I think he realized intuitively that if he fought for humanity, that it would bring more out of himself. So he made it about humanity.
Champion of those in need, those who suffer and struggle. Truly, a champion of the people.
He was fighting for all the downtrodden. He was fighting for black people. He was fighting for people who didn't believe in the war. He was fighting for more than himself.
Let's love each other first. Let's integrate with each other first.
It's really an unparalleled legacy as an athlete, just a unique legacy.
I shook up the world! I shook up the world! I shook up the world!
He's a subset of one as an athlete and as a social ambassador and as a global force.
You know, here's a guy who did it, and he did it the hard way, you know. Nothing came easy to him, you know, but he did it.
Service to others, Muhammad Ali once said, is the rent you pay for your room here on Earth. Simply put, he has paid in full.